Hello, Internet. Okay, I'm going to do better at short intro. This is post to post drill version 2. Last time the intro was too long. I like to talk through kind of where my head is at coaching wise and about these drills and stuff. I realize that's not YouTube nuggets. That's probably not what most of you want. I'm thinking about maybe putting those videos just on the Patreon for the folks who are more invested and want to see those. So if you have a thought on that, please drop me a comment. Let me know one way or the other. Both are totally fine. The last version of the drill, I made a mistake. I had lower body and upper body in the same drill. That's not a thing. I do like the upper body cues that were there. Mikey's cue, Blitz's cue. I think those are all great things to add into this movement as a whole. But the drill, I believe, should be separated to lower body and upper body. So that's what I'm going to do now. This is post to post drill 2.0, lower body. We'll talk about upper body after we have this on board. I've given this drill to a couple clients. I have pretty consistently had people come back doing a movement that is not what I intended, which helps me redefine and, put scope parameters on what this drill is and what this drill is not. And then that helps me find the next version of the drill, which is where we're at now. So the first version of the drill, foot flat to the camera, stagger width, shoulder width and a half ish. Turn this foot 45 degrees back. So your toe is 45 degrees back. The first version of this drill is just feeling the posterior chain in the back and the posterior chain in the front, and how if you switch between those, not intending for that movement to be particularly dynamic, how doing that makes you feel the pelvis is going to rotate as a function of weight shift. That is the goal. This is not how you should actually move when you throw. I think I should do a portion of each video now, which is don't take my word for it. Let's go look at pros. So I just did that. I checked myself and made sure that what I was saying kind of makes sense. So do that. Do not take my word for anything. Do not. Dogma is bad. Everyone knows that. Do your own research. Look at your favorite 3 to 4 pros. See how they move their back leg. That's primarily what I'm looking at here. So first version of the drill is get into your posterior chain on the back. So posterior chain, I am straight legged. My weight is in my heels. I'm doing a hamstring stretch. This is my posterior chain. In this drill, I just want you to feel that on the back leg. And then put the front leg here. Shift your weight and feel that same hamstring stretch on the back leg, the front leg, excuse me. So now I'm in the same hamstring stretch, 45 degrees offset. So from the side, I'm here. Back post, front post. Now, where I got off base was this position doesn't exist in most elite level players. They don't get their rear leg straight. I still think there's value in feeling that position. Kind of where this drill came from is Mike Malaska in ball golf, because he literally coaches exactly the same thing. That's probably really where I got the idea first. He says, you're in ball golf land, using a stick. This hip just goes back, boom. That creates your backswing. It rotates the pelvis, but you're not intending to rotate the pelvis. Rotating without rotating, I believe, is the phrase he uses. So this hip clears to the back, that creates my backswing. Then the front hip clears to the back, boom, that creates my downswing and my follow through. So you're just, the legs are working as pistons, the legs are working in their intended plane. One hip back, other hip back, and the result is 90 degrees of pelvis rotation without rotating the pelvis intentionally. This is why I don't like the phrase activate the hips. That's usually going to produce an active movement, which is not what we want. More on that later. and previously. So we're in this. The first thing is a feel. It's a feel of, do I know what it feels like to be in the posterior chain on the back? That's not particularly relevant for actual dynamic throws. But as that's going to put me in the right position where when I transition to the front and then activate the posterior chain on the back, that's going to show me what pelvis rotation is going to feel like as a result of the weight shift and the brace. That's the idea I want you to get there. So what I saw with a couple of my clients is then they would be in that posterior chain and start the movement here. So now they're trying to actually throw, they're trying to be dynamic, which is outside of the intended scope. My mistake, I was not clear. And then they're shifting here and following through like that. Note my knees clunk together. If I'm on this post and this post is immobile, all I can do is tip into my brace, which isn't actually what we want. And because this tree of my rear leg is just tipping forward, it's going to keep going forward. And again, in the method that I teach, that is not what we want. So we need the rear leg to be more dynamic. Now I sound like I'm on team back leg disc golf. I'm not on any team. I'm on team 2-leg disc golf. Stop fighting is what team I'm on. But so there's two versions. There's the feel, which is get this post straight, switch, get this post straight, feel how that makes your hips move. Feel how you can make that power a throw that is a placeholder throw that is kind of dynamic. I'm going to try to not use my arm, and I get some arm to happen as a result of the hips. The hips are happening as a result of the weight shift. So that's version 1. What we need to add, if we want to make that more dynamic, is we need to change the rear leg mechanic so that it's real. I looked at 4 different pros. Who did I look at? I looked at Paul. I meant to look at Anthony. I did not. Looked at 2 other guys that popped up on Anthem. So go to Anthem Disc Golf. Pick your favorite 4 pros or whatever. Look at their back leg. See how they move onto their back leg in the next step. See how they move off of it. What we're looking at is knee bend. Do they stay bent and rotate? Do they straighten and rotate? So if we're doing Seabass's butt wipe drill, our goal is to wipe this butt that way on a wall. We need to extend the rear leg to do that. Not necessarily, but that's how I think about it. Andrew, correct me if I'm off base there. That doesn't really happen for a lot of top players. It can. There's a spectrum of what do you want to accomplish while you're on your rear leg. That's up to you to decide. Again, go look at your favorite players who you want to emulate and try to do it the way they do it. What I want to add for version 2.0 of my drill is we're going to look at a coiled position with a bent knee, and we're going to come off of that leg keeping a bent knee. It's going to change a couple things. So if this tree is just straight, then its momentum is going straight forward. Its momentum will continue to go straight forward, and my rear knee will kind of go towards my front knee. Again, in my method, that's not actually what I want. I don't want knees to come together, and I don't even want this leg to just stay in place as it rotates so that I'm counterweighting here. I don't like that. I want to counterweight here because that's going to pull my body back to my upper body to where I want it to be, which is going to start my kinematic sequence off on a better note. There are plenty of players who don't do that, who perform very well. So you don't have to throw that way. I just think that's the easiest way to start to feel a good kinematic sequence, which will move your hit point earlier towards 10:30 rather than being at 11 or 12. I'm just setting you up for that. Once you feel it, once your hit point is where you want it, you can throw however you want to. And if you want to leave your rear leg south and that works for you, great, do it. I'm just putting on training wheels so that we can feel kinematic sequence working effectively for the first time. So the change. I'm going to get into a modified version of David Weck's coil. So I'm setting up footwork exactly the same. This foot flat, this foot 45 degrees back. My weight is centered. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my centered weight and I'm going to move it over the back foot. So my weight went back a little bit and towards the back corner. I'm not coiled yet. I'm just over this rear foot. Now I'm going to send my left glute towards the back wall. Boom. Now my lower body is coiled. If I cared about upper body, which I don't right now, I would then twist my shoulders back as far as I can, keeping this containment, not letting anything slip out to where then I don't have containment and everything's going to be different. So I'm keeping knee, toe, and hip all aligned towards the camera. I'm shifting my weight onto the back foot, sending my glute backwards. Maybe I'm thinking about twisting my spine a little bit. Doesn't really matter for now, I don't think. And then this is coiled. So I'm going to feel a lot of tension in my glute medius. I'm going to feel some load in my quad if I stay there too long. That's going to start to burn. But I should feel explosive here. Like I can really drive off of that and make a lot of powerful motion happen. So that's what we're trying to feel. And then we're making sure our heel is up in the front. Then as we transition to the front leg, just like how we did, the knees are going to move together. This space is going to stay here and the knees are going to drift linearly on that 45-ish degree angle forward. Knee stays bent. When I actually put weight into the heel and get into the posterior chain on the front side, so I'm not really getting into the posterior chain on the back side. It's active, but I'm not straightening that leg as I was in the first version of the drill. So I'm driving off of that leg. Doesn't have to be super active. It's just I don't want to tip onto the front. I want this leg to guide me in to the front leg. So I'm letting, this is A-frame drill stuff, I'm letting the knee dip in to make my curve reverse ballistic instead of toppling, which is ballistic. So I'm here, I'm shifting, and when I actually get into a straight posterior chain on the front side, boom, that makes my leg want to drift to the northeast, to that corner of the T-pad. Now I'm in more of a one leg regression position where my torso is going to stay anchored to my rear leg rather than my torso not being anchored and tipping forward over my brace. This is a late hit point and not the kinematic sequence we want. This is the kinematic sequence we want and a potentially earlier hit point if we align everything to it. So that's the new version of the drill. Set up your feet. Shift your weight onto the back foot, shift your rear glute back. Maybe think about twisting the spine a little bit if you have brain space for that. Shift forward, activate the posterior chain, and let that containment on the front side. So you're leaving the knee in, driving the heel down, and letting the leg push on the ground so that the knee moves to a straighter position and transfers the weight into the heel where you're automatically going to rotate on the heel. That's what keeps your knee safe. That and the rear leg rotating internally, somewhat intentionally. It's not the end-all be-all drive rear leg mechanic of the world, but there's a little bit of activity there. That little bit of activity allows the leg to want to drift northeast, which puts you in a better counterweight position. That's the whole drill in a dynamic fashion. So with a little bit of a placeholder disc fan on the front, set up to the back, send the glute backwards, maybe twist a little bit, transfer the weight to the heel, front post, rear leg drifts. Boom. That's the whole thing. I'm not sure if it's just my tendency that I end up with this too much backwards lean here, or if it's a function of the drill. I think it's not ideal to lean back like this, but it's okay if you're just getting the feel of the lower body. But that is an artifact that we're going to want to get rid of eventually. So what that might look like is now I'm trying to stay upright and not tip backwards when I get into my posterior chain. Let's see if I can do this. Don't even know. So I'm here, coiled. So there I'm more stacked. And then if I was throwing hard enough, I would have a more dynamic follow through where I would end up in true Gibson pose. Okay, that's it. Good luck. If you're still here, you're one of us. Please go check out the Patreon. See you later.